Death and taxes. What more positive things can we talk about? I'm Adam Hamalian,
And I'm Sherry Hutchens.
and this is the Real Story with Adam and Sherry, where we talk about all things real estate. It's intended for both our clients and our colleagues, and we hope it's informative. And we plan on having a little fun while we go along the way, especially when we're talking about death and taxes.
Oh boy.
As we get ready for filing taxes. Don't know how many of you are already filed. If you're like diligent and get your things together, or if you're like me, where you always file an extension. But it got us.
I'm on extension too,
Yeah, it got
even
us.
though it's only March 12th.
I know. Yeah, I already contacted my tax person and said just to warn you, this is where we're at.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but this was prompted. This podcast topic was prompted by a conversation you had at quilt classes last week. Do you want to share the conversation you had with your friend?
Yes, I had one of my fellow quilters come up to me and say that she would really like to move to Rossmore, but she's been living in her home for the last 40 years, and she has a really low tax basis. And if she moves to Rossmore, she said that her tax basis is going to go up, five, six, seven times, and she can't afford it. And she said that she wished that she could do the tax basis. And I said, well, you can. And she said, no, it's only good in 4 counties. And I said, obviously, you have not heard of Proposition 19 that passed, I don't know, 2, 3 years ago. So I filled her in on all of that. So maybe we'll be showing her a house in Rossmore sometime soon.
Yeah, let's talk about that because it was a
Mhm.
change that opened up some doors for people. One of the things that's affecting our housing crisis and the just kind of the crunch of no inventory is that we have, like your friend, single people living in a long time family home that's really probably bigger than what they want
Yeah,
or need, and they'd like to move, but their property tax is set either pre Prop 13 or just affected by that.
yeah,
And so say they bought it for, let's say, 200,000 and now their house is worth 2 million. That that's there's a couple things going on. We'll talk about capital gains another one. But if they go buy a similar house now, they're going to pay more, even if they're downsizing for property tax. So tell me a little bit more about how does that Prop 19 work? Um,
hmm,
does it there what do you have to be a certain age or tell me more about it?
yeah. There's a couple different ways that it can work, but primarily, especially for this person, you have to be 55 plus, and you generally have to buy a house equal to or less than the property that you're selling. There is an exception to that rule. I won't go into all the details here, but you can buy something that's more expensive and still take part of your tax basis with you. And it used to be that, as she said, that it was only 4 counties. It was actually 6 counties, and none of them were any place that you would want to live if you were used to living in the Bay Area. So now all 58 counties in California have to participate in this tax basis transfer program, AKA Proposition 19. And the other thing that people generally don't know is that you can do it in reverse. So you can go off and buy your house in Rossmore or wherever, move into it, and then sell your previous home. And after that sells, then do your tax transfer. Um, so it's pretty easy. You have to be 55 plus and, find another home and move into it.
Is there a time frame that you between buying and selling that you have
Yeah,
to
I
do?
think it's 2 years.
Oh, so plenty of time to find a replacement home.
Plenty of time. It's not like a 1031 exchange where you have 45 days, and you're running around with your hair on fire trying to find a property, especially in this market where there's no inventory. You've got 2 years to complete your tax basis transfer. And it's all done at the county level. Here, our good friend Gus Kramer over in Martinez, takes care of that for us.
Gus is the Contra Costa County tax assessor, and so
Yeah.
he's the one that oversees the team of appraisers and everything else that makes those assessments
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
Um,
Former realtor, by the way.
One of the things I really like about Gus is that he is very homeowner friendly. Like he wants to make it work for homeowners. And I think that largely the whole community values home ownership, and so he makes it he's trying to figure out how to make it possible. I remember when the law first passed, as typical, the voters voted it in, and the voters, whoever wrote the ballot measure, they didn't write the law. They just said this is what the law should say.
Yeah.
And I remember Gus is like, the lawyers have no idea what to do with this because the voters voted this. It was like it took them like 6 months to sort out and create the actual laws that were going to
Yeah.
govern the whole process.
It was
And
unenforceable the way it was actually passed.
yeah, sometimes we as voters need to leave laws up to the professionals.
I don't
Um,
know if you know, the first time it was on the ballot, it did not pass.
I
And they had
remember,
to make some revisions to it. And then it came back, I think, 2 years later and passed, which is a really great thing for people. I mean, it's like you said, there's all these people living in homes that are either too big for them, or um, they have a two-story and they need a single story, and they can't sell, not only because of capital gains, which we should talk about at some point, maybe in a future podcast, but also because of the tax base.
yeah,
Or the tax basis is so low, and who can afford to take on a $10,000 or $15,000 tax bill every year?
yeah. And it's unfortunate because I think there are a lot of people that are trapped in homes, handcuffed to a property tax or capital gains,
Yeah,
and especially in this market where the people who have to get loans, it's difficult for them to change. So the people that have equity, have been in a home for 40 years, have enough equity they can go buy the next home
yeah.
if they could just unlock their equity. Um, and unfortunately, there's just a few things that are keeping people from doing that. I mean, I would say that over the last year, what has it been? About a third of our listings have been because somebody has passed away,
Mhm. Yeah.
and the under file this under failed marketing campaigns. People are dying to work with us. Um, I know you
Oh,
vetoed
sorry, I
that.
shouldn't laugh at that. Don't
I know you
encourage.
vetoed that, but I had to get a dad joke in there someplace. Um, and it's a shame that we aren't giving people options, especially when they have the resources. And
Yeah,
um, speaking of difficulties, I mean, at Rossmore right now, getting a loan in Rossmore has gotten really complicated because of the insurance issues that are going there. But it was encouraging to hear this morning's meeting that I don't know if you heard Martha Eccles say that FHA is lending in the Waterford again because it's
yeah,
a little bit different than the condos and co-ops and the rest of the
that's
Rossmore.
encouraging.
Yeah, so there's some hope that that'll lighten up. Uh, they're referring to them as non-qualified condo projects, and it has to do with their overall insurance policy, not the individual ones that each unit are getting. But yeah,
We're
there's
in a
lots of
really interesting market, don't you think? I
yeah,
mean, we've got insurance issues, we've got capital gains issues, we've got loan issues, we don't have enough inventory. We've got people sitting in homes with 3% interest rates that would like to possibly move, but they can't feel like they can't afford to because they're going to go up to a 7% interest rate. It is
yeah,
a challenging time to be a homeowner and probably a realtor as well.
yeah. Well, also I feel so fortunate just this month that we got two of our clients into highly competitive
Yep.
listings, and
Yeah.
one of them actually is in the category we're talking about today, that they're not exactly downsizing, but they're moving from a two-story to a one-story,
Mhm.
and it's going to be a great home for them. But it was just a matter of they probably will use, by the time we sell their home, probably will take advantage of Prop 19 to help bring the
Yep.
bulk of their lower property tax over and
Yep.
provide a place where they will. I mean, they're still very young and active, but they do qualify. They are 55 and older, so they're not a young family, but it'll be good for them. I'm excited about that.
Do you want to talk about how we got that property into contract?
Well, so this couple we've been working with for a long time, and there's been a couple homes that we've shown them that they wanted to write offers on. And the last one prior to this, we left the home thinking we were going to go back to our office and write an offer. And we called the listing agent, and they said, "Oh, I just accepted a preemptive offer."
I remember that day. It was like, you did what?
Yeah. Well, and then what complicated was that they were leaving on an international trip like the next day. And so we were trying to get this into contract so before they left and
Well,
talked
there
about
were a couple other times they liked properties
yeah.
and they were getting on a plane the next day. One of them when they were leaving for Israel, and we did I hate to use the same phrase I used before, but hair on fire loan approval for them with Mike R over at Wells Fargo,
Yeah.
and we ended up not riding on it as it turned out, but they were pre-approved and they got on a plane the next day and off they went.
Yeah. So so the home that we got them in the contract, and we probably need to be a little loose with the details since it's still an open transaction, but
Mhm.
the listing agent intended to hold it open for 2 weekends and they saw it and fell in love with it. And so we put our best foot forward for them and like to, get our ducks in a row. I mean, sometimes I didn't even know I had ducks and they felt like we were at a circus. But in this case, we had all the ducks. We had them in a row, and
I think you're mixing your metaphors. Ducks at a circus?
yeah, I don't know, whatever. My ducks are not in a row. I didn't even know I had ducks. But in this case, the ducks were in a row, and we convinced we wrote a compelling offer for our clients and
Compelling preemptive.
preemptive
Preemptive.
offer. Yeah,
We broke the rules.
I
We ignored the
apologize.
rules.
Yeah, I apologize to the listing agent. I know that it was unsolicited and maybe perhaps rude, but our clients were beat out a couple times, so we made sure that we did not lose out to somebody else, and
Yeah,
time wise, that is. So
yeah. It's pretty stressful to do that, because it very clearly says in the MLS that they're setting an offer date, what was 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks from when we showed it. And just to take a deep breath and say, let's give this a shot and write it up. We had clients who understood what compelling meant
yeah,
and had an agent who, after I think the initial shock you did what? You sent me a what? Looked at the offer, realized that it was a good one, and here we are a couple days later in contract.
yeah. Well, do you remember that we did that? We've done it more than once, but there's that one time when we did it during the pandemic, and we were working with that one buyer who was just really needed to get out of her living situation, was ready to
Yeah,
move on,
yeah,
and found the house that she loved. And it was a
yeah.
similar situation where the listing agent had set an offer date, but our client wrote a ridiculously high offer over the list price. I don't
Yeah.
remember suggesting that price to her, but she just really wanted it.
He was
And
done.
you called the listing agent and said, I just sent over an offer. And she was on the phone. And do you remember what her
Well,
response
I
was?
waited to hit the send button on the email until she picked up and I said, Mary, I just sent you a preemptive offer for X address. And I hit the send button. She said, don't send it. And I said, I just hit the send button. And she said, please don't send it. Please, please. Everybody, all the other agents are going to be mad at me. And I said, just take a look at it. And she's like, I can't. And I said, just please take a look at it. And she went, oh, 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 okay. Well, thank you. I'll get back to you. That was fun.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was loads of fun. From total panic about every agent in the, city hating her to, oh yeah, I'd love to go present this offer. So
yeah,
those are the fun ones.
yeah. Well, I think that she is still happy in that house here 3 or 4 years later, and
Yes, she is.
I think her equity is there, even though the market's
Oh
been soft
yeah.
the last 12 months. From the time she bought it, there were another 15% increase in home values from the time she bought it till we hit the peak about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So,
So I
uh,
guess what's going on here is that it's still a good market to sell. If you've got a great house, there are lots of people lined up out there waiting to maybe step in and write a preemptive offer for you. But at least, somebody will be willing to take a look at it and buy. And if you are sitting on a low tax base and you think you might want to downsize into something smaller with a single story or something like that, we can help you maneuver through that Proposition 19 maze. It's not as complicated as it might seem. In fact, it's super easy. So give us a call and we can help out with that.
all right, sounds good. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Real Story with Adam and Sherry. We will see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.